Welcome. So this is the second video in my series about victory at sea. So this is obviously not Napoleonic era. I did an unboxing of this set earlier. Warlord Games sent it to me. So I want to mention that. So I received this from Warlord Games. So, but I am interested in this era as well, and I figured since I did an unboxing, I also want to do a little bit of a paint video. I actually made it so that my brother, because you get a set of both US ship and Japanese ships in the original set, as I showed in the unboxing video, and so I decided to let my brother paint the US ships because I figured it would be nice to have some different styles going, and he always approaches things a little bit different than me. So I figured I'd do the Japanese ships and he's gonna do the US ships. We went slightly different ways, especially with the sea base. I made the sea base more matching our sea mat, and he made some other sea base, but it's not gonna matter. So this is gonna be the second video in this series. Maybe there's gonna be more, but at least there's gonna be 3 because we finally painted all the ships, both me and my brother, so then the next one would be us actually finally playing the game. It's been a long way off, but it's mostly, you know, I've been doing a lot of other stuff, as if you follow the channel you'll see, with Napoleonic era, and then also my brother's been really busy he's in the part-time in the Swedish military nowadays, so he's been super busy with that and with his primary job as a designer. He's actually a boss on a designing company, so it's been hard to get around to playing really, but it's getting there. So the next one will be that. As you can see in the video, I chose to both show it in pictures but also in video, and I speed it up somewhat. So here's the assembly of the Japanese ship. So you get, and I showed that in the unboxing video, you get a cruiser and 2 heavy cruisers, and then 3 destroyers with the Pacific set, the starter set. And assembly is really straightforward if you're into Napoleonics like me. These are easy peasy. They're 1 to 1800 scale, so they're tiny, of course, but then all you really need to do is you need to clean up the bases a bit, file a bit on the sides and so on. And then I found that the stuff that needed the most of the work were actually the smaller parts, like the turrets and the towers and so on, that came on those little resin pieces on the side. The mold on those, I have to be honest, it wasn't really great in the set that I received, and they were kind of hard to file as well, because as you file, the stuff didn't come off like dust. It just stayed on there like debris kind of thing. But I guess that's me not just being used to the material and so on. You know, with a really sharp clipper, as you can see here in the video, you'll get far. And also the scale being that small, it's pretty forgiving. Like you're not gonna see too much of the details, since the ship itself is already very small and the scale is very small. So they're not really meant for close-ups, I guess, these ships. Still, the models are nice, and when I looked through the source material that I could find on these different cruisers and destroyers, Warlord Games came really close to the shape, I feel. Of course, I am very far from knowing much stuff about Second World War games. Of course, you know, because yeah, this is a side interest. But that being said, I looked into the sources and figured, okay, so what can I find? Major difference between the US ship and the Japanese ship. Some of the older US ships, I think they did have it, but all these Japanese ships, they have a wooden deck on top of the steel, right? So they all had a wooden deck. So here you can see me preparing, and I've used a primer, and for this I use, and actually for most of my bottles, I know some people go with black and some people go with white. I always go with an ash gray army painted primer. I find that works the best for me and can go any way. And as well as most of these ships, the parts are going to be mostly gray, right? So I'll have a gray base, even if I'm going to push that gray in different directions, more like yellow, green, gray. But anyway, so this is the colors for the base. Some white, some, you can stop the video and look through there. And this is, you can have different preferences. This is just to match our sea base. Here you can see the ships that my brother made. And you see he chose to paint the sea bases more like the examples from the Warlord Games set. But I wanted my bases to get as close as possible to the RC mat, just to match it. So that's why I used that ink as a base, and then I mixed in some speed paints in there, just to make just basic contrast from the start. Then you don't need to do much other work. I mean, it's a real quick fix just to paint up the base. You see here, I do this real quick on all of them, and just leave them dry after. I kind of like at the scale that the ships actually come with these bases. They're a little bit thicker, and there's the name of the ship on the side and everything. But for the purpose, maybe later on, you know, like I did with the Napoleonics, maybe I'll go a different direction. But for now, I find this really useful. Since the ships are so small and they're kind of similar, looking from a distance, it's nice that the names and the class, it's on the sides of the bases. And the bases, they look nice. I like it. They're for me, good sea bases. So here you have the Furutaka class cruiser, and you can see I couldn't stop myself, so I started adding a little bit of brass details. Some sprits or some mini masts at the bow and the stern, and then also where those I don't know, mini yard arms would be as well. So here you can see they've dried up. I used a little bit more than I showed in the video, so I used a little bit different tones, like mixes of those stuff, to get the contrast. And here you can see the base that I used for the deck, and then I just went with some soft tone and a little bit of strong tone from Army Painter to just get the contrast on the wooden decking. And here are the colors that I used for the gray. So I mixed some speed paints in there, and here you can see again the example from my brother. So you can see he went a little bit different way, a little more variation in his ships, like Indianapolis and those ships, a little bit more different versions. I made all mine kind of similar, with the same gray and the same deck tones and everything. I made a small flag that I printed in different sizes, like the Imperial Japanese Navy flag. So I'm later on I'm putting those flags on there, on these models, just for added flair and also easier to recognize from the side. They're so small, the flags, that they really don't show. You're a meter away, you're not going to see them anymore. But maybe you know, for a photo shoot or a video or something, it would look good with the tiny flag there at the stern. And here you can see I'm working on the grays, painting in a little bit base layer on top of the gray already. So I'm not covering everything, I'm just covering parts, and then I'm going to go in with this black ink after it, just to find the contrasts again, and then I'm going to go highlight on top of that. So layer for layer, not many layers on this model. They're tiny, and you know, really I think you could go really far with just, you know, base painting and then maybe inking or washing, and then a tiny bit of highlight, maybe dry brushing even, just highlight with dry brushing. Also, you can see my new tattoo. I couldn't stop myself, it was about time. It's a present from my wife. Finally got it, hold fast across the knuckles. So that's from old sailors, even though I have to admit I'm not a real sailor. I went a lot of fishing in the strait here with my grandpa as a kid, but I guess that doesn't count. But I just wanted it because it's a big interest, and also I went through a little bit rougher period lately, and I feel like I'm a little bit on the other end, so you know, hold fast is kind of works for me. So here you can see the results so far after painting in gray again, and then the deck with the deck tan there, and the grays from above, and then you can see the different contrasts that I used for the sea bases as well. And here you can see the coat the arms. You could use any ink. I kind of like this ink. It's a very dark black ink, and this is what I use for to get those contrasts in the grays here, as you can see in this picture. A little bit more detail showing, because that sinks into the recesses and brings out all those tiny parts. Then I go in and I do a little bit of highlighting again here with a little bit of a dry brush first, and then I'll go with a manual brush later. But I mean, my whole idea with this is I'm not going for the super detailed stuff that I usually do, because I just wanted to try to paint this as I would for a fleet, kind of quick, and see what it would look like if you do it this way. So really I can't say that I spent a lot of hours doing this. I mean, it's just a few hours. So if you want a game where you can get your ships painted pretty quick and still looking good, then I would recommend this game. I can't say anything about playing it yet because we haven't played it, but I do like the tiny little ship models there that Warlord Games has released. So yeah, I'm working on one of the cruisers, one of the heavy cruisers. I'm not sure which one, maybe Kumano. They're tiny bit different. The two heavy cruisers, they're the same type, they're the Mogami class, but there's small differences with them because they're from different parts of the war. And that's the part with the rules. There is a little bit different eras. So if you want to do it strictly historical from a certain era, I'm not sure how you would do that. I guess, I mean, you could use the ships and name them different, or however way you do it. But also the paint work, like I looked into this, and then I found out like the Japanese ships, they would be having a different gray or different tones depending on where they were built or which port they came from, and then also in which era of the war, of course. And I guess it's the same for the US ships and the German and British ships and so on. So I went with the tone, and I matched it to one. I can't remember right now, so probably I'm going to have to put a comment if I remember it. But I went with the color from one of those, which is it's a gray, but it's a little bit warmer gray because there's a tiny bit of, I feel like, green and yellow in it. So I used those speed paints to get some contrast already in the paint as I was painting it. And then mixing it with some black, and that's also a speed paint, actually, the grim dark black, and then a little bit of normal white. It's my off-white from Vallejo. I love that one. I use that for everything, really. Like if I want white, that's going to be the off-white from Vallejo. So working on the destroyer, one of the destroyers here, just adding in a little bit of highlights, getting some more contrast. As you can see, if I speed it up, it's quite a quick job to get this done, the whole thing. I just have an old cloth. I know a lot of people are working a lot more advanced than me with stuff like this, but for me this just works. You know, I just wipe the paint on an old cloth to get it dry for dry brushing, and then yeah. It tends to work for me. I'm sure there's better ways to do it, but yeah. I guess with this type of stuff, since I came back to painting just, 2-3 years ago, after a 25-year break, then yeah, I guess my methods are a little bit old school. I'm looking into maybe starting some airbrushing later on. So here you can see the result after a little bit of highlight and airbrushing, or dry brushing and airbrushing, dry brushing. Also the bases, like I worked over a little bit more on the bases again. So yeah. I think the overall look is pretty nice. Then I use this from Ushi. It's just a really thin black stretchable thing, kind of similar like EZ line, like the one I usually use for my Napoleonic era ships, but this one is even thinner and it's black from the beginning, so I don't have to color it. So that's what I use for these. It's actually so thin, actually, thinking back, I mean, you can see it's on here in the pictures, but most of the picture you can't even see it. And also when I tried these ships on the board, I couldn't even see it. Even with a white background, you can hardly see the wires that I put in there. For a gaming model, it just makes them more fragile, I guess. I couldn't stop myself. I never can stop myself from doing some stuff. It's not a complete rig, but it's parts of a rig. And also I decided to tone down because it was still visible anyway, even if I toned it up. So I toned down the text on the side with a bit of ink, bringing out the contrast. And here you have the finished ships on our CMAT, and the CMAT is from just going in one go. Sometimes you forget stuff. War Sigil, that's where we get our mats. So we don't make them ourselves. He used latex paints, so they're rollable and they're made on canvas, so you can just roll the whole mat up. But you see, I managed to match, I feel, the ship bases, the colors really well to the CMAT with that ink. And I just went in a little bit with a really opaque, like from Green Stuff World, their seafoam texture, is to bring out some of those white crests. But really basic paint job, as you can see, for being me. Quite like a speed paint, but that was all purpose. I just wanted to speed paint this ship. As you can see here, some of the detail is not as good as I normally would make it. There's a little bit of spillover and so on. But what I found is, looking at it just from a little bit of a distance, you really don't see it. And they look really good on the board when you look a little bit further back. So just for game pieces for now, since this is not my main interest. Maybe it will be if the game is really fun, then I will spend more time on the ships. But just painting up the fleet real quick here, and you can see with those Imperial Navy flags on the sterns, and the names clearly visible here, Fubuki class and so on. And from above, and then the final sign view, just to give you an idea. This, I feel, is the picture closest to how it feels when you're looking at them on the board. And I have to say, for being a speed paint job, I'm very pleased with it. And I just wanted to show you some pictures as well of the work that my brother did. Here's they're a little bit unclear, the photos, but that's the Indianapolis with the camo, and then there's USS Chicago. More classical paint jobs there. And that's all for this one, folks. I just wanted to show you a quick run through on how I speed painted this model to get them up on the board quickly. And the next one in this category, in this series with World War II ships, will be us test playing Victory at Sea. So I hope I see you for this one. And right now, I'm gonna be actually preparing, because just recorded this before I'm actually gonna run my first live stream ever. See if anyone shows up. I hope so. And I'm gonna answer some of the questions there that I received, just a few, but and then if I received new questions during the live stream, I will answer those as well. So I hope maybe to see you for that one. It's going to be here on the channel as well, I guess, when it's done. It gets recorded and then uploaded by itself. So until next one, have a nice time.